I recently had a conversation with a friend that went something like this. At the end of their semester, they felt exhausted. They had done so much work to study for finals, to finish their projects, and to just be done with the academic year. And then they went on a week-long vacation to the Caribbean. And they sat down at the resort, and after sitting there for 10 minutes, they thought to themselves, wow, I am so bored. So what did this story tell me? And why am I telling it to you today? This is about happiness. We often get so focused on the negative aspects of our life, whether it be the amount of work we have or how bored we are, that we always think the grass is greener on the other side. And it might be, but most of the time, that simple black and white view does not give us the happiness that we desire. And today I'm going to teach how I got to feel more happy and content with my life based on a few tips that I'm going to share today. The first is in regards to self-esteem. The problem with so many of us, including myself, is that we're so easily able to raise other people. We're so easily able to compliment our friends, our family members, tell them that they look great, tell them that they are studying so hard. But when it comes to ourselves and our perspective, we simply cannot do it because we don't believe in ourselves, we don't trust ourselves, and we think of ourselves in a negative aspect because the human mind is designed to think of the negative. Biologically, we are meant to survive based on this ancestral evolutionary trait. Because if we didn't think of the negative oftentimes, it would lead to us being killed by something because we were thinking too much about the positive. But in this day and age, a lot of the times we don't need to think that way unless we're in a terribly dangerous situation. So reframing the mind to think more positively is something that I find is important to do. And one of the simplest ways I found to do that was to go into the mirror and tell myself I love myself, and to tell myself that I'm hardworking, that I'm patient, that I'm a great human being. And a lot of the times people do not believe in themselves so much that they will end up in tears just telling this to themselves. But it's basically a form of mini therapy you can do to yourself and see how you react to it if you are being honest with yourself. Again, you have to believe in what you're saying and you have to look yourself in the eye in the mirror while you're doing this. And that is one step that I took to get toward this level of contentness that immediately shifted my mindset into one of positive self-esteem and positive self-assurance. And this comes not only from an identity shift, but also actions that changed my perception of self-worth from terrible to worthy. A lot of this comes from identifying myself in multiple aspects. I touched on this in a previous video, but the idea of self-complexity states that we have to see ourselves from multiple perspectives, because if we fail in one area, our whole world doesn't come crashing down. It's like the stock market, and you invest in multiple things rather than just one risky stock, because as soon as that stock falls, all of the money that I invested is gone. So investing in myself as an athlete, or investing in myself as a student, and investing in myself as someone who's passionate about creating content. Those are already three different perspectives that I have that make my life and my self-view more complex, and thus make me feel better about myself as a person, especially when I have a downfall in one of those areas that takes some time to recover from. I still have those other pillars that will support me and my self-worth and my self-esteem. You are a great person, but you have to take the steps to improve your own life. You have to take the effort, you have to put the effort in, and you have to motivate yourself to do it. A lot of the times my motivation comes from family, because I saw a person who said that a lot of the times, especially men these days, say that they're doing everything for themselves. And what he says is that when you look at it from the perspective of only improving your own life, it doesn't motivate you. You may feel content at a certain point, but the only way to keep yourself progressing is to see yourself in the future, to see your family, to see your children, to see your parents. All of that provides more of a reason to do work, to get more success, to become greater at your job. All of this motivation behind the idea of family and your blood and your heritage, that's perhaps the most passionate motivator. I think it can apply to everybody when put into the right perspective and mindset. We're working for our family, we're working for our future generations, and that is what should motivate you to keep going and to work harder. I heard another story on social media about the definition of why we are doing something. What is our purpose in our life? And nowadays, the purpose that we have is very selfish. This content creator that I was looking at said that a lot of the times we say that we do something for ourselves, we make a business for ourselves, we succeed for ourselves. But what motivation does that really provide? The point he made is that a lot of the times, the best motivation is to think about our future, our family, because you can be content at a certain point when you have enough money to sustain your own life, when you find yourself being happy with what you have. But to think about your future generations and to give your children or your relatives or your family the best opportunity that they can have is perhaps the best purpose and motivation you can have to continue your passion, to continue building your business, to continue pursuing the path of life that you are destined for. Going into my second point of purpose, the basis of happiness comes from us knowing that we are doing something that we want to do with our lives, going and taking that step. For me, that was publishing content. For me, that was doing something on social media, because it was taking a step toward doing something that I wanted to do with my life that I could take a step toward right now. But a lot of the times it can be so many different things. It could be doing a different sport. It could be traveling the world. It could be writing a book. It could be so many different things, but that purpose that one has is so important to find in life. And even I don't think I found my true purpose yet. I'm always looking to go deeper into my core values and to see what I might want to do more of my life. Because in the end, the idea of purpose can be sort of seen as a multi-layered sphere. We keep going deeper and deeper into each layer when we take the time to think about what we truly love to do and what we want to do with our life. But when we get closer and do more of that stuff, we eventually find that we may have to adjust because we think that our purpose is something, but then we end up doing something else. And that is the evolution of a lifetime. That is truly taking the steps to get closer and closer to our identity. For example, if someone's true purpose was to meditate and find solace in understanding the world, it's very hard to go straight to that sort of viewpoint from a normal human perspective. A lot of the times someone may have to go through their ups and downs. They might have to do a bunch of stuff with their life. They might go into some negative areas of their lives, and after realizing that that's not their path, they will go back and then eventually get towards their purpose with their own self-direction. But this sort of idea takes time, and maybe after that person raised a family and got married, they became even closer to that mission and were eventually able to fulfill it. But this took self-reflection and this took time, and it's never a straight path. There's always twists and turns into finding that sort of purpose. So taking time every single day or a few minutes just to reflect on what our purpose is perhaps the second step to finding contentment and happiness. Finding our purpose, finding what we want to do with our life and pursuing that is what is going to make you happy, and it's what has made me happy, just in doing something that I want to do with my life without the restraints of other people telling me what to do or without fitting in the norm of what we're supposed to be doing. Another note related to that is to not do activities that are hard now or that you don't like doing now, because you're going to eventually get out of it. Life never gets easier. When you age, it only gets harder. I know when I was young, I was saying that I would love to grow up and not have the responsibilities of homework, but work drains energy out of me. I go to an office job, I do the work, I sit there in the office, and I have work to do. A lot of the times it isn't very complicated, but it does require me to sit there and to do some manual labor for multiple hours. And that sort of idea is something that really bothered me. I want to do something more than sit in an office with my life. I want to do something that would go toward my passion or my interests, which is why I experimented with different hobbies and found out some of the stuff that I like to do and some of the stuff that I'm motivated to do. And for example, working in different areas, for that idea of, oh, maybe I'll get a promotion, it's not something that I ever found to be a successful notion. I only was mad at myself for working in that position, and a lot of the times I never got that promotion that I ended up thinking that I would get. So taking the time to simply think about your life and what you're investing in to get a possible return on is something that you probably should cut from your life depending on the circumstance. Now, everybody's circumstances are different, and obviously some people can't just quit their job if they don't like it. But taking the time to, for example, job search and look for another opening and getting that job and then having the opportunity to quit the job that you hate right now is something that's feasible for many people with enough effort. The third tip that I had to finding happiness and self-content is to realize that happiness is supposed to be a stable feeling. Going back to the first point about self-esteem and self-worth, happiness should never be externally motivated. It should always be internally motivated. Because as soon as we set happiness on a goal, such as a certain salary goal or some certain number of followers, then as soon as we hit that goal, suddenly we think we're going to be happy, but then we just hit another goal and become sad again. We have to be happy during the journey. We have to enjoy the process, because if we don't enjoy the process, our whole life will go by with just moments of happiness fleeting because of the fact that we just achieved a goal, but now we want to set another one. Happiness should be stable. Happiness should be based on our work, our journey, our motivation, and it should not be based on an external goal, or it should not be based on the external thoughts of other people, because then we can't control our own happiness, and that is when I felt most unstable and most insecure with my own life. Another tip to finding happiness and content is to be present. A lot of the times I would walk around, I would listen to music, I would just not make eye contact with people, and I would just go walk to class, walk to whatever I was doing, and just go on with my life. It was the same routine every single day, especially when I was back home over the summer. I would just be doing the same stuff, or here in college, you just do the same stuff, you go to classes, and I just felt so dissatisfied with my life. I felt like everything was so mundane, and I wasn't growing, I wasn't learning anything. And the reason that I realized that I wasn't doing anything with my life was because I was not present in my life. I wasn't understanding the beautiful world that there was around me. I wasn't looking at the nature. I wasn't looking at the leaves on the trees. I wasn't looking up at the sky and being thankful that it was a great day. I wasn't grateful for what I had. And that is what kept me from being happy. I was never present in the moment. I was addicted to social media. I was wasting time in my life. I was doing stuff that wasn't for the benefit of myself or my family. And that was something that kept me from being happy in a stable way. There was always a sort of negative mood around me. I was always thinking about the next project deadline, or I was so entrenched in work or thinking about deadlines that I could never take the time to be happy. There's so many people who talk about the good old days of doing something, when the present is right now and we can feel happy in the present and love ourselves in the present if we just took the time to look around and to see the beautiful world that there is around us. And this message seems so cliche, but being present is one of the most important things that I have done with my life. And being present can mean multiple things. 1, not being distracted by social media. 2, not going on devices as much. 3, not going to devices that remove ourselves or our conscious, sober thoughts from this world. A lot of that encapsulates so many different things. People have different vices, but removing those vices, or at least minimizing them for a long period of time, is something that I found to be a great experiment for my own happiness and my own self-esteem and contentness. All of that was so helpful in making me feel happy and content with my life. I saw the world through a clear mind. I saw everything from a different perspective that I could never have had if I was distracting myself with all of the vices that the world had to present. The final tip I have is perhaps one of the more niche ones, but if you find yourself being in a state of depression, or if you find yourself just not being happy with your life, even after trying to actively implement these tips, one of the best things that I can recommend is seeing a therapist. I know a lot of people who have gone to therapy and they have felt so much better about their lives and much more calm with their lives. They find that they can vent to somebody about the stress that they have in their life, and there's no fear of that information coming out, assuming that there's trust between you and the therapist. Therapy is a great option to pursue if you find that you can't go on this journey alone. A lot of the times they provide great guidance as to what you can do with your life, and they lead to a lot of self-reflection that can make you truly understand yourself, which will then lead to even more happiness because you understand yourself better, thus have more self-confidence, and thus have a higher self-esteem. That's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment what you want to see next, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.